Coming up on Cronkite News, Democrats and Republicans have been making last-minute canvass pushes. We look at who they're targeting and what they're asking voters to do.
Plus, experts say there are common challenges for people with disabilities at polling places. We'll take a look at how one organization has helped make voting more accessible.
And later, the NASCAR Cup Series championship was in Phoenix this weekend. We'll show you how the season came to an end.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Sydney Whitty.
And I'm Autry Maneshny. Thank you for joining us. Election canvassing efforts may be wrapping up, but over the last few weeks, campaigns made their final push on the ground. Cronkite News reporter Connor McGill looks into how Democrats and Republicans are getting the vote out.
Of doors that we need to reach, and if we don't reach them, we're not going to get those votes. So please go inside and knock the door.
It's a challenge both Democrat and Republican candidates face when running a campaign: getting out the vote.
The number one way to break through the noise is a conversation on the doors.
According to OH Predictive Insights, all of the major races are close in Arizona, which is why leading statewide organizing director for Mission for Arizona, Lorenzo Ramirez, says face-to-face conversation with voters is important.
I think in a state that's this diverse, it is not enough just to focus on one constituency, right? Like, we have to be focused on every part of the state, every single constituency across multiple languages, multiple demographics, right?
Both parties have had hundreds of canvassers out over the past month, making sure they make a connection with voters.
Canvassing is incredibly important. We find that it has a huge impact on getting voters to actually go and vote. We know that Arizonans are frustrated with the inflation, with the border crisis, with the cost of gas, with the rising crime rates, but we need them to go out and make that vote.
Ben Peterson is hopeful that canvassing efforts by the Republican Party will push them over in close races.
Close. We think our canvassing and our outreach is going to put us over the edge. We've contacted over 2.5 million voters in Arizona so far. That exceeds what we've done in past midterm cycles, and we're seeing really high enthusiasm.
Neither parties are taking any vote for granted. Both parties are particularly targeting the Latino vote and young vote.
The best way to have an impact on that outcome, and especially in a state that will be won by literally, again, a very small margin, is to get out, go knock on doors, and talk to voters yourself.
In Phoenix, Connor McGill, Cronkite News.
Democrats and Republicans are having rallies throughout the day to energize voters. Don't be surprised if you hear a knock on your door as campaigns gear for tomorrow.
The Department of Justice is also gearing up for Election Day. It announced that it's sending election monitors to almost half of the U.S. states, including Arizona. It's meant to make sure voting sites comply with federal voting rights laws. In Arizona, the DOJ is sending monitors to 5 different counties, including Maricopa, Yavapai, Pinal, Pima, and Navajo. It's not the first time our state has had an election monitors. In fact, we've had them every year, at least since 2010. But the current move comes after a slew of voting concerns this election season, including ballot drop box monitoring and calls for a hand count of ballots in Cochise County. This close to the midterms, it's nearly impossible to miss political ads on TV or online. Many of these ads take on a negative tone. Cronkite News reporter Michelle Aaron looks at the effectiveness of these attacks.
According to Ad Impact, which tracks political spending, Democrats have outspent Republicans in Arizona. Democrats have spent around $65 million, while Republicans have spent around $32 million on advertising for the Senate race alone. Some experts believe that much of this money is being poured into negative campaign ads.
While many voters complain about the negative campaign ads that seem to be dominating the airwaves, TV stations have no choice but to run them. Political ads are political speech and are protected by the First Amendment. Paul Bentz is a political consultant with High Ground Arizona. He has been monitoring elections in Arizona for over 2 decades. He says negative ads definitely help candidates.
Everybody's tired of negative ads. Everybody hates them. They don't like them. But the secret is they work. They work to, hurt an opponent. It works. We've seen it. The data shows that it brings people's support down when you attack the opponent. So it is a necessary evil of most campaigns.
Vince says that while positive ads about a candidate may be more informative, it's the negative ads that trigger a stronger reaction. Negative ads such as this one trigger reactions from members of the Latino community as well.
This is beyond the suppression of Latino voters. This is really to perpetuate a long-standing image of who we are at this border.
Isabel Garcia, co-chair of the Coalición de Derechos Humanos, which means Human Rights Coalition, is very concerned that these types of attack ads promote disinformation.
We are not taught the history of our border and how we took half of Mexico's territorial land and how the border was established.
In Arizona, 32.3% of the population identify as Latino. She feels that these ads may be scaring independent voters.
Both Bintz and Garcia feel that these ads are effective and resonate with viewers. In Phoenix, Michelle Aaron, Cronkite News.
If you're one of the many Valley residents planning to vote in person tomorrow, here's what you should know. Vote centers in Maricopa County will open at 6 a.m. tomorrow. There are no precincts, so voters can go to any polling location that's convenient. Vote centers are typically busiest in the evening from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. when polls close. If you're in line at 7, stay in line. Anyone in line when polls close will have the chance to vote. To find a voting location near you and see current wait times, visit locations.maricopa.vote.
There are some common challenges for people with disabilities when it comes to voting. This election season, a bipartisan group worked to help members of the disabled community in Phoenix at the polls. The seminar, hosted by Ability 360 and the Maricopa County Elections Department, showcased a wide range of adaptive voting technologies in advance of the upcoming elections. These technologies include large print ballots, ballots in Braille, and special headphones. Michael Sullivan, who is quadriplegic, says this event changed his mind on voting.
I've been voting by mail, but I really, after seeing today's presentation, I'm really interested in trying out some of these other means of voting.
To learn more about the options available or to request assistance while voting with a disability, contact Voter Assistance Services at the Maricopa County Elections Department. As Arizonans head out to cast their votes tomorrow, Cronkite News and Arizona PBS will have full coverage on air and online. PBS NewsHour will have national election coverage from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. on the main channel. On 8.3, Indian Country Today will provide live election coverage from 8 to 9. Cronkite News will take over at 9 on 8.3 and on channel 8.1 from 9:30 to 10. You can also find updates throughout the day by visiting our elections homepage at azpbs.org/vote22.
Twitter announced major staff reductions last week and might not be the only media company to be starting layoffs. According to the Wall Street Journal, Meta will be making a similar announcement soon. Twitter cut their staff nearly in half last week after new owner Elon Musk announced the company is losing millions of dollars every day. Facebook parent company Meta could make a similar announcement as soon as Wednesday. The Twitter layoffs included 15% of the trust and safety team, sparking concerns about content monitoring this election season. Officials at Twitter said content monitoring should be unaffected, but experts are warning social media users to continue to look out for misinformation and disinformation.
In other national news, the cost of traveling during the holidays may actually be decreasing. TSA just announced it's reducing the cost to enroll in its pre-check program. It will now cost $78 instead of $85 for the 5-year membership. Renewing in person will also decrease to $78, while renewing online will stay at $70. With pre-check, flyers can get expedited security screenings. And according to data from September, 93% of pre-check passengers waited less than 5 minutes at airport security checkpoints.
Coming up on Cronkite News, a total lunar eclipse is happening overnight. We'll have details on what time you should look at the sky.
Plus, a new report is looking at how extreme heat waves, drought, and devastating floods are contributing to some of the warmest years on record.
Step in here and start having some fun.
Such a thrill to be able to do this.
Recreation is the gateway drug to conservation.
How do you create that perfect straight edge?
You can do anything. History is today.
Chasing the American dream.
Experience something personal.
A place of imagination.
I can go anywhere I want to go.
You guys are just gonna love it.
An entertainment experience unlike anything.
There's something for everyone with Passport on the PBS Video app.
On Masterpiece Mystery.
Evil can find its roots so easily in an English village.
The landscape of criminal investigation.
Murder, almost certainly.
Modern policing methods.
We endeavor to do our best.
We're working hard to solve this case.
And to make sure justice gets done.
It's a new adventure.
And the rest, as they say, is mystery.
I can hardly wait.
Art was one of the powers that made life life. I think we all believed that.
I'm gonna kick down every single door. I'm gonna show you what you never ever seen before. So come show you, I'm gonna show you.
This is a real life story of a real live person.
This was my only connection to my culture.
Fight the power.
Our stories deserve to be heard.
You're passionate and you respect your heritage. That is a perfect recipe.
Now is the time for the Reformation. Now is the time to rebuild the nation.
That's amazing.
You're making me cry.
Some girls can go out there and just steal a spotlight.
This is the moment that we've all been waiting for.
Everyone has something to contribute to humanity. The arts are the thing that does that.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
A total lunar eclipse is happening overnight, and if you miss it, you'll have to wait until 2025 to see the next one. A lunar eclipse happens when the moon passes through the Earth's shadow during a full moon phase. This event is also called a blood moon because light from the Earth's sunrises and sunsets are cast on the moon, making it look red. The best time to see the eclipse is between 3 and 4 a.m. Arizona time. For more information, visit nasa.gov.
You may have felt the heat over the past 8 years. Well, you're right. A recent report says the Earth has experienced some of its hottest years on record. Sarah Blue is at the Google touchscreen with more on the state of the climate.
World Meteorological Organization, also called the WMO, found that the past 8 years have been the warmest on record. Global temperature is up by an average of 1.15 degrees Celsius. That is higher than it was forecasted to be last year. The WMO said this is largely caused by the high greenhouse gas emissions. Carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrous oxide, the three main greenhouse gases, reached record levels last year. But this year, they are expected to increase even more. All three gases are over 100% more concentrated in our atmosphere today than in the pre-industrial age. These higher temperatures have had clearly visible impacts this year. Ocean temperatures are up and are expected to increase in the future. Sea level rise has doubled since 1993. This is caused by the high rates of ice melt in the polar regions. In fact, the Antarctic ice sheet shrank so much that it hit an all-time low in February of this year. 2022 has also been plagued by extreme weather events. Europe experienced unprecedented heat this summer, and record-breaking rain fell in Pakistan, creating devastating flooding. In Africa, this year marked the 4th consecutive below-average wet season, something that has not happened in the last 40 years. The WMO says that we must act now, otherwise temperatures will continue to rise and affect all life on Earth. At the Google touchscreen, I'm Sarah Blue.
A nice day in the valley today, but a cold front is on the way. Luke Vickery joins us from the Cronkite News Weather Center with when we can expect those cooler temps.
Colder temperatures are on the way with a low pressure system that's going to bring a little polar air mass. And these 60, 67, and 65 degrees we're going to see at 9 and 10 p.m. tonight. Those are going to be the highs we're going to see later this week as this low pressure system in the Pacific Northwest makes its way down closer to us. And the closer it gets to us, that's going to bring those higher chances of precipitation, especially towards the high country. You could see a wintry mix with a lot of those blues, purples. That's where you're going to see those temperatures below freezing, giving us those chances of colder temperatures, bringing that wintry mix. And let's look at the timeline of when we're going to see that rain on on Wednesday. This is 4 p.m. The cold front, everything east of the cold front, that's what's going to power a lot of that uplift. The darker greens, heavier rain, and even those pinks and whites up towards the higher country area. That's where you're going to see some of that wintry mix. So if you're picking up the kids from school or maybe on your commute back from work on Wednesday, make sure you pack a jacket, something that will withstand some rain so you don't get too wet on your commute back. But by Thursday, it's all going to be moved out and you won't have to worry about much chances of rain for the rest of the week. And Tuesday, that's the polar air mass has not moved through yet on Tuesday. So if you're going to do something outside, 79 degrees in Phoenix, 53 up towards Flagstaff, that's going to be your warm day to do those activities outside until the rest of the week comes when some of our temperatures drop. Wednesday, 67 degrees, polar air mass moves through, but the lows the rest of the week is what I want to pay attention to. In the 40s, the mid 40s, and then we'll get to the upper 40s later with highs in the 70s towards the beginning of next week. In the Cronkite News Weather Center, I'm Luke Vickery.
I'm Jacob Flores. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. ASU basketball tips off their season tonight, what the two teams are looking to accomplish next.
Go right up in here and start having some fun.
Such a thrill to be able to do this.
Recreation is the gateway drug to conservation.
How do you create that perfect straight edge? You can do anything. History is today. Chasing the American dream.
Experience something personal.
A place of imagination.
I can go anywhere I want to go.
You guys are just gonna love it.
An entertainment experience unlike anything.
There's something for everyone with Passport on the PBS Video app.
On Masterpiece Mystery.
Evil can find its roots so easily in an English village.
The landscape of criminal investigation.
Murder, almost certainly.
Modern policing methods.
We endeavor to do our best.
We're working hard to solve this case.
And to make sure justice gets done.
It's a new adventure.
And the rest, as they say, is mystery.
I can hardly wait.
Art was one of the powers that made life life. I think we all believed that.
I'ma kick down every single door. I'ma show you what you never ever seen before. So come show you, I'ma show you.
This is a real life story of a real live person.
This was my only connection to my culture.
Fight the power.
Look at me now, look at me now.
Our stories deserve to be heard.
You're passionate and you respect your heritage. That is a perfect recipe.
Now is the time for the Reformation. Now is the time to rebuild the nation.
That's amazing.
You're making me cry.
Some girls can go out there and just steal a spotlight.
This is the moment that we've all been waiting for.
Everyone has something to contribute to humanity. The arts are the thing that does that.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Welcome back to the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Jacob Flores. It's been a crazy NASCAR season that's a revamped schedule, 19 different winners, and a next-gen race car. But it all came down to the 4 final drivers in their quest for the Cup. Cronkite News reporter Michelle Aaron was at Phoenix Raceway for yesterday's championships.
This race definitely had an Arizona flair as former Cardinals great Larry Fitzgerald drove the honorary pace car. Fitz says he can finally check an item off his bucket list.
Definitely is high on my list of things that I want to do. You know, when you watch the races on the weekends and you see people driving the pace car, you're like, man, that seems like it's a lot of fun.
As for the main event, Joey Logano had the dominant car, leading 187 of 312 laps to win the NASCAR season finale and his second Cup, his first since 2018. Logano adds his name to a list of only 17 drivers with multiple wins.
We made sure that there was no stone unturned when it came to preparing for this race. And when you saw how confident I was and my team was, it's because we're truly ready.
Ross Chastain was the only other playoff driver to finish in the top 10, coming in third after his crazy Hail Mary move at Martinsville that landed him a spot in the Final Four. Chastain credited his team at Trackhouse Racing for getting him this far.
We can just keep fighting, and no one's ever upset. Like, we keep our world small,
We all do our jobs, and everybody at Trackhouse just put forth their best effort throughout the season, and we ended as strong as I've ever seen us.
Chase Elliott, who was the regular season champion, had some trouble in the final stage. He spun off the nose of Chastain and finished the race in 28th place. After winning the first race with the next-gen car and the last, it's only fitting the 2022 Cup Series champion was the number 22. At Phoenix Raceway in Avondale, Michelle Aaron, Cronkite News.
Xfinity Series winner Ty Gibbs was removed from the race when he got word that his father and co-owner of Joe Gibbs Racing, Coy Gibbs, passed away. ASU basketball tips off tonight with both men's and women's teams playing at Desert Financial Arena. The women begin the season with a clean slate and renewed energy. The Sun Devils have some new talent, including University of Kentucky transfer Treasure Hunt, as well as freshman and Arizona native Treyana Crisp. Head coach Natasha Adair begins a new era as she leads the team in her first year in Tempe. Adair says she's ready to show what her team can accomplish.
It's here, you think about the last 7 months and just how hard the players have been working, and now it's time to put it all together.
I'm really excited to see how we show up for the first game. I know it's a new team, a new coaching staff, so it's a good way to start the season.
The women tip off tonight against NAU at 8 p.m. On the men's side, the Sun Devils are already in action against Tarleton State. Coach Bobby Hurley has some new faces on the team and says these first few games will be a test to see who plays well together. So, don't expect the starting lineup to be set just yet.
We played a lot of combinations in both our close scrimmages, so got a lot of different looks, and we're starting to get closer with that. And but certainly it's not etched in stone as of right now.
Following tonight's game, the men will host Northern Arizona Thursday, and the women's team will face off against Grambling State Friday in Tempe. The Suns are taking their Western Conference leading 7-2 record into Philadelphia tonight to take on the 76ers. But they'll do it without starting forward Cam Johnson. Johnson tore the meniscus in his right knee in Friday night's loss against the Trailblazers. Johnson, who is averaging a career-high 13 points per game, will undergo surgery. There is currently no timetable for his return. Now, while Cam Johnson will be out for a while, Diana Taurasi will be back for a 19th season with the Phoenix Mercury. Over the weekend, the three-time WNBA champion announced her intent to return and bring a championship back to Phoenix. The 40-year-old Taurasi is the league's all-time leading scorer. Despite Sun Devil fan optimism going into the game, ASU football was not able to pull out the win over 12th-ranked UCLA Saturday, losing 50-36. Trenton Bourget threw for 349 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it wasn't enough to fend off the Bruins' offense. Now the focus is on Washington State, whose defense will pose problems for the Sun Devils on Saturday.
They're playing really good defense there, and their head coach has been a defensive guy, so I think the emphasis is on the defensive side. But we have our job cut out for us this week. But we're just going to go back and plan and get these guys ready to go.
ASU wasn't the only team who struggled this weekend. Yesterday, the Cardinals fell at home to division rival Seattle 31-21. For the Redbirds, it's their second straight loss and fourth in the last 5 games. Arizona is now in the cellar in the NFC West and has a 3-6 record. Next up, the Cards are in LA to take on the Super Bowl champion Rams. That's it for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Atria.
Still ahead on Cronkite News, nobody won the big jackpot on Saturday's Powerball drawing. How much is up for grabs tonight and when you need to buy your tickets?
Ain't no time for imitation, ain't no time for playing. I'm just gonna do me.
Know what I'm saying?
Try to steer the trouble.
Where's the fun in that? You know how ladies can be.
I'ma do what I do.
Did you know newsrooms today are looking for bilingual journalists? Cronkite No Thesis prepares you to cover diverse communities. In Cronkite Noticias, you will obtain an unforgettable experience
Pales como este van a tumbar.
Cronkite Noticias.
and develop your skills with the latest technology.
That way the flavors will marry nicely.
Can you tell me what I'm looking at?
I'm not looking for love, I'm looking for cookies.
And there's still places to discover.
It just absorbs you.
You can make this at home if you can't find it.
I will continue to eat and drink until you get here. Get here fast.
Cheers.
Oh, look at that. Damn, doesn't that look good?
We are going to be eating well. It does work.
It does.
We got a happy little sky.
We're just getting started.
Today could be your chance to become a billionaire. The Powerball jackpot has been growing for 3 months, and it's now the biggest lottery prize ever. Tonight's drawing will offer up $1.9 billion. If someone wins, they can choose to get the entire sum of money in gradual payments over 29 years or a lump sum payment of over $920 million. The drawing is tonight at 9 p.m., so make sure to buy your tickets by 7. That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.